Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we're taking a quick look at, listening to, and installing the Flowmaster American Thunder Catback exhaust, available for the 2009 to 2014 5.7 liter Hemi-equipped Challenger. As you just heard from our sound clips, you should be checking this out if you're looking for a really loud, really aggressive, yet classic muscle car sound for your Challenger, one that I'm going to give 4 out of 5 on our loudness meter. Now, 4 out of 5 is that middle of the road option between a really great daily driver and the loudest of the loud. It's a little bit louder than some of the more normal guys you'd hear out on the road, but not as loud as some of the loudest possible ones in the category. 4 out of 5 is the sweet spot for the guys looking for really aggressive volume without some of the overbearing sounds you get from 5 out of 5. Now, the American Thunder Catback has been around for a long time. It's definitely one of the staples in the muscle car exhaust category there, because it's just known to be one of the most reliable when it comes to a really deep, aggressive sound. You get a really loud wide open throttle, you get a really deep rumble at idle, and you get really great crisp sound in between. Now, the Flowmaster American Thunder uses the Super 40 series muffler from Flowmaster, one of their tried and true mufflers that everybody's come to know and love in the muscle car community. Now, I'll break down some of the more gritty details comparing it to stock a little bit later on in the video, but know that just for a base of reference, if you're looking at catbacks and mufflers in the category, especially ones from Flowmaster, the lower the number in the series, the louder it gets. So 40 series, the Super 40 series specifically, is one of those nice daily driver options that gives you the sound you just heard. Now, this particular catback is going to relocate your factory muffler into the center of the exhaust system where the Super 40 series is now, and it's going to delete your factory resonators. So a little bit less baffling in this exhaust is going to result in higher horsepower and torque gains. It's also going to result in a better breathing engine, and then finally you get that sound you just heard. Now, the entire kit here is made from a 409 16 gauge stainless steel. It's going to be good for corrosion and rust resistant without being as expensive as a 304 stainless. If you're looking for the most corrosion and rust resistant, better for guys located in wintry weather areas, seeing maybe a lot of road salt in the wintry months that can take its toll on your exhaust components, 304 might be the better way to go, but either way, 409 is still a lot better than aluminized. Now, those mufflers I just mentioned there are coated in black, so it adds another layer of protection without, again, going up to the cost of a 304 stainless. Now, the rest of the kit here is mandrel bent tubing, which basically means it's reducing all the kinks in the bending process that you would get from your factory tubing, so it's better for airflow as well, less restrictive. It's also going to use an X pipe for the mid pipe as opposed to your factory H pipe, which we'll take a closer look at later on again. Now, one thing that, in my personal opinion, is the downside to this catback is that Flowmaster does not include upgraded tips in this exhaust. So you reuse your factory rectangular tips. Now, a lot of times, a lot of exhaust companies will give you an upgrade when it comes to rectangular tips, but this one's going to use the factory ones. I'd like to see some new ones when purchasing a catback, but that's personally just me. Now, if you don't mind using your factory tips, or if you don't mind picking up better tips separately, then this is going to be a good way to go. The price for this comes in right around 850 bucks. Again, not the most expensive option, not really entry level either. Flowmaster does make some pretty good quality stuff there, and this kit's gonna be no exception. 850 bucks is the price to pay. Install, I'm giving 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, not because it's a difficult install, just because it's a little bit more involved than, say, a direct bolt-on cold air intake. It's gonna have no cutting, no welding, no drilling. It is a direct bolt-on here, just a little bit more involved in the process. I'm gonna show you every step of that. It'll take you about 2 hours from start to finish. What do you say we get started? Tools used in this install include an impact gun, extension, 13mm swivel socket is recommended, 13 and 15mm deep sockets, hanger removal tool is recommended, and PB blaster or WD-40 or something similar. First step here, I'm gonna grab my impact gun, an extension, and a 13mm socket, and I'm actually gonna remove the hanger isolators directly from the frame, unbolting them from the vehicle, rather than using a removal tool and popping the isolators out. So we're gonna keep them all in one piece attached to the exhaust, and just remove them from the frame. So I go straight above the muffler, there's one behind it and one in front of it by the tips. Now, when you do the second one, you want to make sure you have a hand on the muffler because it's going to want to drop down a little. All right, now we can do the same thing on the other side. So now you can grab a hanger removal tool and head back toward the middle section of your exhaust here. Now, on the driver's side, you have this flex tube. Directly above that, there's a hanger into the isolator. I'm actually gonna pop this guy out. Now, as you're doing this, before you finish up removing the exhaust, it's a good idea to have a pole jack in place or a jack stand or something similar, maybe even a hydraulic jack, just to support the middle weight of the exhaust as you remove it. Now, if you have a helping hand during these final stages of unclamping it from the front of the vehicle, that goes a long way. So I'm gonna grab a buddy to hold the tips while I remove the front, and we can drop it all in one piece. Now you can grab your 15mm deep socket and loosen up the 2 clamps holding them to your cat pipes. So we got our factory exhaust off of our 13 RT, and it's on the ground here next to our Flowmaster American Thunder catback. I want to take you through similarities and differences between the 2 kits here, and I want to start at the front of the vehicle with our mid pipe. Now going into your mid pipe here, your factory exhaust uses an H pipe. Now when it comes to mid pipes, you typically have 2 different options. You got an H pipe and you got an X pipe. Your Flowmaster American Thunder will use an X pipe. Now the X pipe is known to be more free-flowing and less restrictive than an H pipe. Now there are aftermarket H pipes that are really good, give you a nice deep, loud exhaust tone. The X pipe is known to give you a louder, raspier exhaust tone and give you a small bump in horsepower and torque over the H pipe just because it is less restrictive with the crossover pipes in the middle. This guy here does slow down the exhaust flow just a little bit there. Moving on from that, you'll notice that the entire system here is mandrel bent, which means it's not as kinked up around the bends as your factory one, which looks like it was kicked to death. This thing has dents all over it. That's just factory kinks from the exhaust manufacturing process there. The mandrel bend process is going to smooth out those sections there to make sure it's got a smooth airflow transition throughout the entire exhaust. This is also fully 2.5-inch 409 stainless steel. It's 16 gauge steel. Now this steel is going to be more corrosion and rust resistant than something like an aluminized steel. It's not going to be as durable as a 304 stainless, but it is still durable enough for guys located in, say, wintry weather areas like we are here. We see a lot of road salt. Having something like a 409 definitely goes a long way for corrosion and rust resistance. Now moving on from that, the mufflers here you can see are relocated. Your factory mufflers are up by the tips. Your new mufflers are going to be right in the middle of the exhaust here, whereas your muffler position at the tips is now just a straight pipe essentially. The mufflers are going to help delete the resonators as well. This is typically where you see the factory resonator. Now it's the mufflers and then a straight pipe down by the tip. So a little bit of reorganization when it comes to the different components here. The mufflers are the Flowmaster Super 40 series. Now the Super 40 series are the classic American Thunder catback sound. The Super 40s are a nice daily driver sound. It's what gives you the sound you just heard from our sound clips. 3 out of 5 on the loudest meter about. Now that's going to be something that gives you that nice deep throaty rumble without being too overwhelming or over aggressive. It's not going to have all the drone that you don't want inside the cabin. Now a good rule of thumb is when it comes to Flowmaster mufflers and their series names, the lower the series number, the louder the muffler is going to make the exhaust sound. So Super 40s is kind of right there in the middle. They do have something higher like the 50 series, which is a little bit more tamed, and then their Super 10 muffler is going to be the loudest one you typically see in something like a Flowmaster Outlaw, for example. So the last thing I want to talk about there is the tips. Now the Flowmaster system here does not include any tips whatsoever, so you'll be reusing your factory ones or replacing it with factory-like tips in the aftermarket. And what I mean by factory-like is as long as it attaches to the system just like your factory tips would, it'll work with the American Thunder here. So it's just got a ball joint right at the end there, and you'll just clamp it using the factory clamps. Now, if you want to pick up separate clamps, you definitely can do so. I'd recommend picking up some clamps. Personally, if I'm spending money on a catback, I like to see an upgraded tip. I'd rather not use the factory ones, but that's what we're going to be doing here today. Just my 2 cents. I'd like to see some tips included, but definitely something to keep in mind moving forward. Now, when it comes to this system install, we are going to have to transfer over the hanger isolators and the brackets there from the factory mufflers, and we're going to swap them over to our pipes. And then, of course, I'm just going to unbolt our factory tips, which we'll then install on the vehicle later on. All right, so next up, we're going to remove these hangers and the isolators from the factory mufflers. I'm going to use PB Blaster here to just lubricate this guy front and back, just to make our lives a little bit easier. Grab a hanger removal tool. You can also use a pry bar or something to pop these off. This just makes life easier. For this one, we do have to unclip this ground strap. There it is. All right, now we can swap them over. Now when you swap them over, you want to make sure that this tab up here is facing the front of the vehicle. So we're going to slide it on just like this, let it hang down. Same thing here, front of the vehicle. And then repeat on the other side. Now for this one, once you slide this guy on, grab that ground strap and just connect it to the pipe hanger. All right, so I flipped our factory exhaust over so we can access the bolt head on the clamp of our factory tips. Grab a 13 socket, loosen that up and pop the tip off. All right, so we do need the clamp, so you may have to loosen it up a little bit more to get that off. All right, so this clamp here is tack welded on. Both of them may be. Ours was just on this side. So if you do run into this being welded on, you can just loosen the clamp and just sort of bend it up and work it back and forth. It will just break off like this. So that's perfectly fine. If you are having trouble, you could break out a cut-off wheel or a Sawzall or something of that nature just to cut it off, but you should just be able to bend it off and break that weld. So now that we have that taken care of, let's set that aside and start the install with the X-pipe. All right, first up the install here, let's grab our X-pipe. We're gonna set it into position. Make sure you have clamps over the inlets here going into the factory cat pipes. Slide that guy all the way back, position your clamps into position, and tighten them down. Next up, we can do one of our mufflers. I'm gonna start on our passenger side. Make sure you have a clamp on the inlet, slide that guy into position, make sure it's seated all the way through, and then tighten it down. Same thing for the other muffler. Right, next up, we can install our tailpipe, making sure we have a clamp on the end. I'm going to start with our driver's side going into the muffler. You want to make sure it seats all the way. Once you have a clamp in position, you want to lift this up and connect it to the hanger right above. And tighten down your clamp. All right, so next we can focus on the driver's side pipe that we just installed. We have to put it up onto the frame. So bring up that bracket, connect it to the hole in that frame there. Lift it up so that it sits flush. Put one of those factory 13mm bolts back through. All right, now I'm just gonna do that by hand. Do the same thing for the other one, and then go back and tighten them down. I'm gonna use a 13mm swivel socket to tighten them down. Same thing to the other one. All right, doing the same thing to the other side. Throw a clamp on first and attach the pipe. All right, now we can tighten it down. So next we can just repeat the hanger process up to the frame. All right, so next we can do our factory tips. I'm gonna start here on our passenger side because they are side specific. Get that just to sit in place, grab your socket and we'll tighten it down. All right, repeat on the other side. All right, once you like the alignment of things, you're good to go. That's going to wrap up my review and install for the Flowmaster American Thunder Catback, available for the 09 to 14 5.7 Hemi Equipped Challenger. You can get your set right here at AmericanMuscle.com.